What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative and another weekly reading wrap up where I'm going to share with you about all of the things that I've been reading recently. I was able to bounce back from an off week of reading with a week of wonderful reading, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Let's start with what I finished, Stephen King's fairy tale. I was able to slowly make my way through to the end. I did like the ending, and by the ending, I mean the last 2 or 3 pages in the epilogue. I liked. I just didn't like everything else between pages 200 and 600. I'm glad I read it. I will never reread this book again. If I did, it would only be the first 200 or so pages, and that would be that. I liked the idea behind the story. I just didn't like the execution. I also finished the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The illustrated edition is the only way to reread this series. I'm sure everybody at this point has read the series at least once or seen the movies. So if you ever find yourself with a bee in your bonnet wanting to reread this series, I highly encourage the illustrated route. Unfortunately, right now, only the first 4 books have been illustrated. The 5th one is going to be out next month. So we got a while, I imagine, before we have the entire series, but it's worth waiting for. And once I finished this one, I next picked up Luke Arnold's One Foot in the Fade, which is the 3rd book in the Fetch Phillips archive, and it was absolutely amazing. This one, in my opinion, Luke Arnold has realized his full potential as an author. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this book. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's a great urban fantasy series that really has built itself a home in my heart. I wasn't expecting that. Generally, when I read urban fantasy, I read them as palate cleansers, just a quick fun ride that's over and done. I can pick them up whenever. I don't feel the need to read them one behind the other, but I did with this series, and that's unusual for me. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know I am a serial starter. I start tons of series. I think I'm in the middle of about 45 right now, and I never finish them, or I finish them very slowly. Yet there was just something about this series that pulled me in and kept me wanting to read more. If there were more books out, I would read them. I am not ready to be done with this world and its characters. This is a great series to read with a friend. There are so many elements involved that are fun to talk about with a friend, as well as when you're trying to solve the mystery with Fetch, talking about clues and such. Huge thank you to Gail for reading this with me, and also a huge thank you to my friend Ev, who turned me onto this series in the first place. Over the years that I've been doing this channel, Ev has yet to steer me wrong on a recommendation. Once I finished that one, I then picked up The Maid by Nita Prose, and I am in the camp that loved this book. This is a murder mystery, a thriller. A lot of reviewers are going to tell you that it's predictable, and it is, but I don't believe the main focus of the story is supposed to be the mystery. In my opinion, it's a character study of Molly Gray. Molly's different. She looks the same as everybody else, but she interprets facial expressions and what people say to her differently. In the months leading up to where our story begins, Molly's always had her grandmother there to interpret things for her and help her learn that not all smiles mean the same thing. I was immediately drawn in by the character of Molly. I enjoyed getting to see the world from her eyes. And maybe enjoy is not the right word, because there were equal times where I took joy in how Molly viewed the world, and on the other side of that coin, I was heartbroken at the way some of the characters treated Molly and acted towards Molly. I really connected with this story, and it was exactly what I needed to pick up after some of those other reads that I had last week. For anyone who might be new, The Maid was the Wine and Crime book club pick for the month of September. That is a book club that I host on the Nerdy Narrative Discord, and then on the last Saturday of the month, we have a live show where everybody can join and chat together about our experiences reading the book pick of the month. Once I finished The Maid by Nita Prose, the next book that I picked up to read is Drop by H.D. Kirkland. This was a trip. Literally, it's about drugs. It's about psychedelic drugs and the effects that it can have on you physically and also your subconscious. This is a book for deep thinkers and lovers of philosophy. It's going to have you pausing and thinking. There were several times I would read something and it would hit me so profoundly that I would stop to think about it and think, why haven't I thought about this before? So be prepared for that. This is one I don't think you can plan or schedule to read. You really need to pick it up when you're in the mood for this type of story. It looks small, like you could knock it out in a day. That's what I thought incorrectly, but once you get started, it's gonna make you pause and do a whole lot of thinking. I don't have any experience or knowledge of psychedelic drug use, but this to me felt very realistic, so it might be difficult for readers who find that material hard to read. This might not be the book for you. It was very nightmarish to me. In fact, I had bad dreams the night that I finished this book because this sucker crossed over into a level of horror I was not ready for. But I can tell you, if I had ever been curious about trying those types of drugs, this is a huge deterrent. No, 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 no. Oh man, I think I will forever associate any type of psychedelic drug with what happened in the end of this book. So thank you, H.D. Kirkland, for that. I don't know if that was the intent behind this book, but if so, H.D. Kirkland, you definitely succeeded. Once I finished Drop, I went right into Full Immersion by Gemma Amor, and I read this book within 24 hours. It was so good. This one was and wasn't what I expected going in. I read the book description on NetGalley and I requested it based off of that. That's what I was expecting. And I got that, but it was completely something else, and I can't tell you what it is because it would be a spoiler, although you find out very quickly what that is. I'm not going to tell you. It's something you need to find out organically through reading the story, but I absolutely loved it. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I have my written review posted. I'll have it linked down in the description box below, along with all of the other books that I've discussed here today that I've read. I do have a couple of short stories that I finished since I updated y'all last, both of which come from Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes collection. One is The Moving Finger, which I started when I talked to y'all, but I finished. Absolutely enjoyed that one. And then I read Sneakers, which was a little bit of an unusual story from Stephen King, at least what I've read from his material so far. There may be more like it in other stories and books that I haven't read yet. I don't know. Both I found to be very enjoyable reads. Were they the best thing I've ever read? No. Did I have a great time reading them? Yes. And that takes us into what am I still currently reading? Well, I'll be honest. I got up early this morning so I could finish reading Full Immersion by Gemma Amor before filming, so that took up most of my time. The other book that I'm working on, I am listening to the audiobook for Rats, Bats, and Vats by David Freer and Eric Flynn, and this is the best thing since sliced bread. There's a plot. There is a storyline here. But for me, it's like an 11-hour comedy show. The story begins, a disaster has befallen a group on a mission in the underground tunnels of maggots. Survivors of this catastrophe include a human, some rats, and bats. Cyber uplifted rats and bats, meaning that they have speech and skills. In fact, they were specifically made this way to be soldiers for the humans. They're absolutely hilarious because they do retain some of their previous natures, and I'm just having the best time listening to this book. That's the only book I'm still currently in the midst of since I got up early to finish Full Immersion. I do have here a sci-fi novel that I've chosen for my next read called Star Mark Rising by Shamie Stovall. All I remember about it is it has something to do with genetically modified humans and superhumans, so I can't wait to see what this one is about. So be looking forward to hearing about this one next week. Once I finish this one, I will be getting started on The Legend of Blackjack by A.R. Whittam. I cannot wait to read this book. The author graciously provided me with the audiobook, and then I picked up a copy of the ebook when it was free on Kindle recently, so that was going to be an immersion read for me. Actually, Shamie Stovall's book, Star Mark Rising, has an audiobook that I'm going to pick up through Audible and immersion read that one as well. So I'll be telling you guys all about the audiobook narrators as well as the printed reads. So I can't wait to chat with you guys about that next week. I am so glad you were here listening to me chat about books. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I talked about a book that maybe interested you enough to pick it up and give it a whirl. If you found something here today that you like, let me know all about it down in the comments below. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.